What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow. Today, I have a gear review on the Sanabul Essential MMA Sparring Gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have one of the most popular pairs of MMA gloves on the market today, selling over 30,000 plus units since Sanabul came out in 2014. Some of your favorite UFC fighters use these, and in general, you have probably seen these on Google, Amazon, as they are Amazon's #1 pick. A fan favorite glove, highly recommended on the channel. Today, we have the Sanabul Essential MMA Sparring Gloves, and I mean it, this glove is absolutely famous at this point. You got a lot of gloves out there that are, but in my opinion, as far as MMA sparring gloves go, you have seen the Sanabul Essential at some point or another. Some of your favorite champions, even as recently as last week in the Embedded series and the countdown to UFC 297 with Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, both of those guys were using these, or a Sanabul product in general, in the week build-up to their fight, actually hitting pads, and then Sean Strickland actually using a blue pair of these to sparring, which is absolutely crazy. So you got high-level guys using a, quote, beginner pair of gloves, and you also got some famous UFC champions past and present, such as present, we got Sugar Sean O'Malley, who's a UFC bantamweight champion, fan favorite, and welterweight contender Gilbert Durinho Burns, and then a featherweight great and Max Holloway that has a whole Sanabul lineup, and then former champions that use these when these first came out. You talk about Tyron Woodley, TJ Dillashaw, Michael Bisping, really kickstarted Sanabul into what the brand is today. It's a very popular brand. Like I said, most of you have probably seen this glove. If you've Googled MMA gloves, Sanabul is one of the first brands to come up because Sanabul is a massive brand, really focusing and honing in on the MMA crowd. They make great stuff that works for every sport, like kickboxing or boxing, but most of their stuff, in fact, all of it, in my opinion, is really tailored for the mixed martial artists. And just the 6 names I just named and more, honestly, are proof of that. Now, in general, these gloves are their beginner model. I actually unboxed these a couple months ago when I unboxed the entire MMA sparring glove lineup by Sanabul. I wanted to start with the, quote, base layer one that everyone has tried or seen. This is one of our most popular gloves at our gym. Actually, I'd say a good, in my beginner's class, honestly, a good 80% of my class has a pair of these gloves. And I think it's because it's inexpensive. If you have Amazon Prime, it's 30 bucks. Comes to your door with free shipping, and on top of it, they're very good for striking, they're great for grappling, they're good for pad work, bag work, although the glove on the website says they don't recommend you hit bags with these because it'll irritate your fingers and damage your knuckles. I've had no issue with that. None of my beginners have. I think they are trying to get you to buy another pair of gloves because it says, we recommend you use our boxing gloves for those things. But Sanabul, very cool brand as far as that goes because they make really good quality stuff. And in the case of this glove, like I said, I have beginners that use these. I actually have a couple pro teammates that have a couple pairs of these, which is absolutely great. So it's a great overall training glove. You know, it says sparring glove, and they are good for that, but you can use them for virtually anything. They're inexpensive. They got a couple options, and they just do what you need to have done. And like I said, some of your favorite pros have used these. Now, we're going to the model of my glove here and get into the bulk of the review. We can talk about me getting the large/XL size. You can get 2 different sizes. There's small/medium, L/XL for large/extra large, and you can get them in 6 different colors. I went with red because this is the most popular color that they sell, I believe, is what I read online. And most of my teammates actually that have these have the red. And they also have them in red, blue, solid black, green, silver, and I'd like to say lime green are the 6 colors that you can get. But I'll post them across the screen so you can see. So you got 6 different color options, and you also have 2 different sizes. Usually the small/medium, L/XL, is a really good bulk sizing because instead of going like small, medium, large, extra large, double XL, it fits most hands is basically the idea, which is really good, and I like that Sanabul does that. I imagine it also saves on inventory. But when we go into the look of the glove, like I said, you can see here that the glove is black and red. And basically what would change if you got different colors is the piping and the logos and the lettering, and that's about it. But in this case, I got the entire back of the glove, which is all black. The striking surface is very nice, dark midnight black. And then you got the Sanabul logo in red there. And then the Sanabul tech print, I call it tech print. It looks like a futuristic text in white there. And that works really good. Sorry, I got a hair in my mouth. But basically that works really good. It complements the black and the red very well. And down here it says fight for it, which I love slogans like that because that's Sanabul's slogan, but I like it because it could mean anything, whether you're fighting for your next fight, fighting for fitness, fighting for pride, fighting for getting in shape, whatever it might be. And that's cool. I like things that you can interpret. And you might be sitting here thinking, Al, it's just a slogan. Don't think into it. I always do though. But that's besides the point. But like I said, you got that fight for it in red right there. In a bold text. Then when we come here on the side, you can see that we have red piping all the way throughout the glove. You got that going on throughout the tips of the fingers here as well for the finger inlets that are going on there. And then the finger inlets themselves actually have the white there, which complements the black and red very well. So you got black, red, and white here. So you see that. And you also have the same thing right there with red piping. And the piping's both on top and bottom. The interior lining, as you can see, really matches the rest of the glove. Most interior linings are going to be black, and in this case, that's no exception. You got a black interior lining. And the piping on the wrist strap is also black, red with a black outline to it. And then when we come down here, let me make sure I have that the right way so you can read that. It says Essential MMA Gloves right there, and it has dual colors. So you got the text in red here. Then you actually have an outline text. So the background's red. That's black, like the background of the actual strap itself. So that works pretty good. Then you have the Sanabul logo there. Now, some people have asked me what the Sanabul logo is or what Sanabul means, and basically what I googled, I forget what culture it was from, but it means of good health or healing, and that's basically what that logo is supposed to symbolize as well. So that's pretty cool. You know, and there's actually a really cool article you can read about the guy that started Sanabul and his whole theory behind it. But that's what the logo looks like. And the other thing, as far as look goes, you can see that we have a very long wrist strap. That's in part of the design as well, but you can see that once again, it's all black with red piping, and you got the Velcro strips, which are also black. You have a couple small ones there, and then you have a small one there to attach to, as well as the back. So that is the entire look of the glove. As far as the stitching color goes, for the most part, it's just black, and you can see that right down there. I know lately I get comments like, he doesn't talk about the stitching as much anymore. Well, they're stitching, the red stitching goes throughout the red, white stitching throughout the white, and then black throughout the black. So it's a pretty straightforward stitching pattern. Now, when we talk about the build of the glove, it is like a lot of other gloves that are inexpensive in this range, and Sanabul on top of it only uses man-made products. There are no animal products used by Sanabul, so you will not find a leather product, a horsehair product, or anything like that. It is all man-made. In this case, the outside shell is what they call their engineered leather, which is basically a vinyl, and it is a pretty good vinyl. I have seen it flake off because, like I said, it's a $30 glove. If you don't clean your glove or take care of your glove, I've seen it fall off, and I have a teammate in particular that does not take care of his stuff at all, and it flakes off after like 6-7 months he was using them before they kind of fell apart and flaked off. But in this case, you can see here, once again, you got that nice engineered leather at the end, and it shines really well with the light. It's actually a pretty flexible vinyl as well. So when I stretch it like this, if you can see, it stretches pretty good. Underneath the vinyl itself is actually a cloth material. I've seen it. I gotta see if I can get my teammate, if I can get those pairs of gloves. He hasn't brought them in the gym because he got a new pair of these actually. But the back of the wrist bar here actually was exposed, and it was like a cloth material underneath. And I imagine that's so the vinyl can actually stitch into the cloth and stay onto the glove itself. So that's pretty cool. But that's basically what you got going on here. And I will say that it does have a very fake artificial odor to it. Like if you go to Lowe's and roll out like the floor vinyl, that's basically what this smells like and feels very similar to that. Although I will say the floor vinyl at Lowe's is probably more durable and much more expensive per square foot compared to these. But yeah, you got that fake artificial scent to it. It kind of smells like a backpack, like a new backpack that you bought. It smells like that. The padding, they call it their Durasoft padding, and that's basically another way of saying that it is just like every other MMA glove in this price range. It is just basically IMF foam, or ringside foam, people will call it. And what IMF Tech foam is basically one solid mold that they inject with a gel, and what that does is it doesn't harden it, but it basically keeps its shape and it stops from breaking apart, and it also adds a bit more of a layer to your knuckles for protection. The only thing about that some people don't like about that compared to like layered foams, like having like 3 or 5 layer foams, is that once that mold starts to break apart, it starts bubbling. And that basically means that you'd see a ton of different bubbles throughout the padding here falling apart. But in this case, you actually have a pretty good thickness of that Durasoft padding that they call it, their IMF Tech foam, injected mold foam, whatever you want to call it. And it's actually a pretty soft injected mold foam compared to some other gloves out there. I'd say it's like it's definitely on the soft spectrum. If I had to go through like the medium soft, like I use like the mattress type thing for it, I definitely say it's like a soft or medium soft. It's actually a pretty a pretty soft glove that you got going on here. And the padding is pretty uniform throughout the tip of the fingers, and you can see how soft that is pushing in. And then on the back of the knuckles is definitely pretty thick. You got a nice inch and a half of padding there, and it really does protect the knuckles. And it also forms in a curve, so it gives you a nice natural punch position and a nice natural fist. The other thing that I like about it is that, like a lot of gloves nowadays, it has that hinge style, so your hand is very independent when you go to grab things. And on top of it, what really helps with the back of the hand support for like your metacarpals, metatarsals, and your wrist, you have a piece of EVA foam, which EVA, just in case you didn't know, is kind of like the stuff that you see in your wrestling mats. It's kind of the stuff that you see in like your yoga mats, stuff like that, a closed cell foam, and that means it's a little bit firmer, doesn't breathe as much compared to an open cell. You can actually hear this breathe out like that, whereas if I do this, nothing in the center. So that's basically what open and closed cell is. Open cells has open cells for it to breathe in and out, whereas the closed cell foam does not. It stays in one uniform shape. What that does though is it bends around your wrist to give you a good, nice solid feedback on your wrist and to protect your wrist. And then also it's also there to protect the back of your hand as well. So that's good. And you got the same exact padding here in the thumb. It's actually split into 3 brackets, which is cool. So it actually protects your bottom knuckle, the top of your finger, and your middle knuckle on your thumb. And it's very flexible too. It bends in all the right spots, allowing you to have good mobility, and also protects, say if you're going for like a casting punch, hit the side of your thumb. Happens to everyone in MMA. Protect your thumb instead of having an open exposed thumb, which will kind of jam it, break it. And that's basically what you got going on there. The fingers are pretty independent. When you see here, I can try and split it that way. You can see that you actually have individual finger slots, but they are barred together. That way you can have no fingers are slipping out or anything like that. And they have piping at the top and bottom to stop irritation for your fingers, which is good. And it locks in pretty good. Allows you, once again, a nice natural fist, which is what I really like about these. But I like how all the slits are here and they're very independent from each other. It's the same thing for the thumb. This strap is not too bulky. It's actually pretty nice on the thumb, so you're able to really move it around just fine. When we open the glove up, you can see that we got a very nice long wrist strap, which is really good for wrist support. Usually longer wrist straps means that it adds more compression. You don't want too much compression, but in this case, it's very good. The only thing I don't like about this, I have seen a few of my beginners have this at our gym, is that sometimes these tiny little Velcro strips kind of flake off. But I see that more with some other gloves out there compared to these. I've not had an issue with that. But the Velcro in some Sanabul products, like my original gold stripes, I have the new model, but the original gold stripes, I gotta bring these to my grandma to have her stitch them, because I'm bad at stitching. But as you can see, the whole entire Velcro patch literally came off. So I gotta get those stitched, because I really like those gloves. I like the second version too, but I'm still kind of working with them. But at the end of the day, that's what you got going on with the wrist strap. You can also see that you got like your Y opening here. I usually like gloves to be wide open, but in this case, my hand slips in pretty good. And on top of it, they call it their performance liner. I think it's performance liner in this glove too, but usually with a lot of Sanabul's gloves, they call it their performance liner. And it's basically your poly cotton that you got going on here. Absorbs sweat very easily, has that fake scent to it, and it does. The glove will start to stink very quickly because it is a lower quality glove in some ways. So therefore, I would definitely take it out of your bag when you get home, spray it down or wipe it down with a wipe or something like that. Gets the scent out. Like I said, what I like about it, even though it has that Y thing, and I would think that my hand wouldn't be able to fit so well, but my hand fits just fine. I just slide it right in. I'm good. And like I said, immediately right off the bat, I like that nice natural fist. When I strap this on, I immediately feel the support on my wrist as well. I can feel the compression on the back of my wrist. especially with that bar there. It really wraps around good, and a lot of people don't understand. When you break your hand, it's not outward, it's not upward, it's like this, right? It is upward, I should say. It's not outward, it is upward. Your metacarpals, tarsals, all those things will tend to pop up that way instead. So what I like is when you punch, it stops the impact, but you still have this protecting it from going up and stuff like that there. So when you punch, you have the hand wraps underneath, which really protects your wrist and the back of your hand, your knuckles as well. But in this case, you got that really nice soft padding, really nice wrist support. So that's really good. And it's also not bulky, as you can see. It's pretty thin on my arm, so I can get underneath the neck very easily. Underhooks, overhooks are very easy. Grips are pretty good in this. Your gable grips are nice. Your bar grips or your butterfly grips are good. S-grips in any type of MMA sparring glove is really hard because you got the overlapping knuckle here. The one thing I will say, I do have one guy in my beginner's class that his hands are so big and long that his knuckles kind of poke out. So you gotta be careful not to do that to people. Some gloves do that. I have not found issue with that with this glove compared to some other ones because it does curve over so well. It's not as flat compared to like the RDX T6 I reviews where they're very, very flat. These are actually more rounded and curved at the top to prevent those knocking knuckles from really knocking so much. Like that's more of the glove hitting the table than it is my knuckles there. But overall, very comfortable, freedom, mobility, good, nice fist position, nice protection of the wrist. Overall, very comfortable glove so far, but let's go into the bag work and see how they perform. So the first thing you're going to notice when you hit the bags with these gloves, although Sanabul says not to, or they don't recommend it, is that it cradles your knuckles very well, and the wrist support, like I said, fits like a really nice, comfortable bag mitt, and I really like that about these gloves. They remind me of those old fingerless bag mitts that maybe you saw back in the day. They cradle your knuckles very well. They have a really good response on the bag as well. They're also very balanced, so it feels like there's not much on your hand. Overall, they do a really great job. All right, so when you see the grips here going on with these gloves, is that you can get really good grips all over the place. Gable grips, S grips. They go through the neck really well, underneath the arms very well. In general, the grips are awesome, and they look pretty good too. Although they're a cheaper glove and they are basic in design, at the same time, I like that you have different colors that can really pop out. And for me, the red does actually pop out pretty well. So although they're a beginner level glove, they look pretty good and you're going to enjoy using them. All right, folks. So my final verdict here for the Sanabul Essential MMA Sparring Gloves is that they are a really great pair of gloves for really anybody, honestly. If there's ever a time that you really don't know what glove you might want to try, I definitely say this is a good basis for you to start with your MMA sparring gloves. That way you know exactly what you want. They're definitely one of those gloves I say it's like a standard glove, meaning that everyone has used it. They know what it's going to do. They know they can rely on it, but it's also a nice branch glove in that this glove might get you into a higher end glove that does similar things, but you want it to do other things. You know, do you want more of a puncher's glove? Do you want something that's a bit more soft and padded? Do you want something that's much thicker and bigger? I want something a little thinner so I can grapple better. This is a great glove because it does everything pretty good. It protects your knuckles very well, protects your wrist very well. It's easy to clean and maintain, which is always a good sign because of that vinyl, which is a big plus for a lot of people. It's very good for grappling in that it's not a bulky glove. Overall, great for bags and pads, although like I said on the website, it does recommend you don't hit bags in these because it's supposed to cause some people, I imagine this is because people complain that their fingers got irritated in the middle and that their knuckles hurt, their wrist hurt. I have not had that problem with these gloves, but if Sanabul's saying it, just take what they say and keep it in your brain. That way you know that they kind of gave you a warning there. But I think that is kind of a way of them saying you should buy our boxing gloves too with these. But that's the other thing about these, right? They're not expensive at all. $30, honestly, for a pair of MMA sparring gloves nowadays is very, very inexpensive because there are other gloves out there that are $60 to $80 that virtually do the same exact thing that this glove does. But the only thing is that maybe there's a better design or something like that, or maybe it's just a more expensive brand, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, $30, especially if you have Amazon Prime, 2-day free shipping. And the thing is, Sanabul has such good customer support. There's a lot of positives going for it. The only thing I can say that's really negative about it is, once again, it's $30. It's not the most it's not the highest quality glove out there. And I think Sanabul knows that. It's because, well, you know, they even have different gloves out there that do better. Like I said, their Gold Strikes do a really great job. Their Battle Forge do a pretty good job. And the Core is a really great glove that a lot of people like to use. But in this case, I think there is a reason why so many pros use these. I think it's because they're easy to get. They're inexpensive, they get the job done, and if you needed to get another pair, you know, these gloves will last you, if you take care of them, a good year or two. And the thing is, if you just spar in these, they will last you, really, for my opinion, as long as you really want them to. Because if you're just hitting someone in these, it's really not as bad as just going on a bag and wailing on it all day, every day. You're not breaking the padding down. You're not ruining the stitching in it. Whereas with just sparring, you know, you're just hitting someone. Trust me, hitting someone's not as hard. We are not built like that. We're not supposed to get hit like that. Our body's like, why are we doing this? Compared to a bag. So the padding will stay in good shape if you just spar in these. I do know some pros that have one pair of these just for bag work and one just for sparring. So it's really up to you. Now, like I said, with the negatives, it's just the inexpensive quality to it, and that is meaning that cheaper gloves usually means cheaper materials. But I do think that if you take care of these gloves, take them out of your bag when you come home, let the interior lining dry out, spray it down, disinfect it. Like I said, it's vinyl, so it's very easy to clean. It's a lot easier to maintain than leather products. And I think for MMA gloves, honestly, vinyl is the way to go compared to leather, though I am a fan of leather when it comes to boxing gloves. But that's basically what you have going on here. The only other negative, I guess I could say, is that they do tend to stink a little bit. Once again, if you're not cleaning your stuff, though. I have a couple teammates that have that, and their gloves, like, they punch me. I'm like, dude, come on. Like just take it home and wipe it off, whatever. So just clean your things, you know, that's all I can tell you. But at the end of the day, the lining is comfortable. It just does absorb sweat and odor a lot easier than some other gloves out there. But just clean your stuff. It's that easy. So if you had to ask me, you know, a score, and some people might think I'm being awful generous for this, for the beginner to intermediate crowd, and even for most pros, I genuinely give these a 10 out of 10. And the reason why is because what you get, and I put them in my S tier, by the way, for an excellent glove, is because, like I said, how many pros did I list that did these? And Sean Strickland, I don't think, is even sponsored by Sanabul, and he uses these all the time. If you go watch any gym, whether it be Sanford Marshall, it's not Sanford anymore, Kill Cliff FC now, if you watch any of your local pro gyms, if you go to AKA, if you go to Extreme Couture, a lot of the pros are using these gloves for good reason. They get the job done. So I'd say 10 out of 10, especially for the beginner to intermediate market. But I'd say for pros, still a solid 9 out of 10. And I'd still keep it at an S tier for excellent. I think $30 is an absolute steal for these. I think if they marked them any lower, they'd be completely out of stock every single minute of every single day. But when I tell you 80% of my beginners class use these gloves, and I've had zero complaints about those gloves, I mean it. I have literally 3 that have been training for over a year, and their gloves still look good because they just take care of their stuff the way I tell them to, and they do a good job with that. I have seen these gloves fall apart very easily if you don't take care of them. So that's basically my whole gripe with these gloves, is that if you take care of them, do what they're supposed to do, they will get you through your training sessions, no problem. Are there other gloves out there that I would prefer? Yeah, for sure. There are, but at the same time, honestly, if I didn't know what to use, I'd probably take something like these or something similar to these and use them anyway, and that's because they do a good job. Like I said, if you got 2 pairs, one for bag work and one for sparring, I think the sparring pair would last you upwards of 2 or 3 years if you really just take care of them. And then on top of it, with the bag work, I think they're very protective. I think they are great for wrist support compared to a lot of other MMA gloves. I think the grappling in these gloves is very good for an MMA sparring glove. I think the padding is just thick enough to not damage your partner so bad. If it was a touch thicker, it wouldn't hurt it. But I think what you have here is a very well constructed glove that was tested by a lot of champions, a lot of big name fighters that know what they need and know what they want. And for me, as a professional mixed martial artist myself, I definitely would be comfortable if I saw someone use these gloves to spar with. So overall, great qualities, very protective, supportive, comfortable, great for grappling, great for striking, so it's good for anyone in that regard. easy to maintain if you maintain them. That's the biggest thing with these. When you're done, take them out of your bag, let them air out, wipe them down with a disinfectant wipe, keep them clean. These gloves will take care of you if you take care of them. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, and as always, if you have any questions or if I left something out, please put it in the comment section below, and I would love to get your thoughts on that. Like I said, maybe you're thinking I'm giving them a very positive review, but for what they are, $30, you can get multiple pairs for under $100, and on top of it, for a beginner glove, having so many different people use it, including myself, I definitely say it is one of the best MMA gloves out there on the market today. I think Sanabul definitely did a good job of these gloves. This is my second pair of these in general, and I think you'll like them too. If you don't know what to get, I think this is the best starting point for a beginner model pair of MMA Sparring gloves. As always too, please, because we are at 7,850 subscribers already, which is absolutely crazy, the fastest 1,000 we've had. I only got to the 7,000 mark at the end of, I think, October or the beginning of November. That's all because of you guys, and I love you guys so much for that. And as always, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because it might be a couple small clicks for you, a couple small pokes on your phone, but it goes a long way to help the channel. And as always, guys, follow me on my social media pages, send me stuff. I just finally got onto Instagram and found all the things that were marked as spam, and I'm finally responding to everybody. I don't know why Instagram does that, but I do get back to you eventually. You can find me on virtually every social media platform between TikTok, X, although I honestly never use X, but I have it, and Facebook and Instagram especially, and you can always email me, which is listed as well. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. You guys are the best. This would not be around without you. I appreciate you all coming out to support me, as well as my fight coming up in February 23rd, CES, which is one of the biggest promotions in New England, so I'm really excited to finally get in there after a year off. I am training so hard, that's why my uploads have been slow, but I know you're all supporting me, and I love you for it. So before I get choked up, thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for choosing your source for combat sports. I've been your host, Al Postmaster Morrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.